In a distant village, deep in the heart of Nigeria, there was once a man who loved to talk, but his words would lead him to a chilling fate. One evening, he stumbled upon something strange, a skull that spoke. Curious, should be, because this is no ordinary folktale, it's a warning about the power of your words. Once upon a time, in a peaceful Nigerian village, there lived a man known for one thing in his mouth. He loved to talk, and talk, and talk. Whether he was at the marketplace, in the fields, or resting under a tree, his voice always filled the air. He would gossip about his neighbors, exaggerate stories to make himself seem important, and boast about things he had never even done. The villagers grew tired of his endless chatter, but the man didn't care. He believed that talking made him interesting, that his words gave him power. One afternoon, while wandering deep into the forest in search of firewood, the man stumbled upon something strange, a dry, weathered skull resting on the forest floor. Curious, he knelt beside it and stared. Its hollow eye sockets seemed to stare back, as if still watching the world even in death. With a smirk, the man chuckled to himself. I wonder what happened to you. His voice dripped with sarcasm, as if mocking the lifeless skull. But to his shock, the skull answered. Talking brought me here. The man froze. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, and his breath hitched. He staggered back, eyes wide with disbelief. Had he imagined it? He glanced around the empty forest. No one was there. Only the silent trees and the still air surrounded him. Instead of running away in fear, the man's mind raced with excitement. If he could prove that he had discovered the talking skull, the entire village would finally listen to him. He imagined crowds gathering around him, praising him for his discovery. This was his chance to become famous, his chance to prove that his words truly mattered. Greed and pride clouded his judgment. The man grinned to himself and hurried back to the village, eager to tell everyone about what he had found. Little did he know, his mouth was about to lead him down a path he would regret forever. Breathless and wide-eyed, the man sprinted back to the village. He couldn't contain his excitement. Bursting into the marketplace, he shouted for everyone's attention. I found something incredible, he cried. A talking skull, a real, magical skull that speaks. The villagers paused, glancing at one another before breaking into laughter. Another one of his lies, someone muttered. He's always making things up, another scoffed. But the man refused to back down. I swear it's true, he insisted. I'll prove it. Desperate to earn their respect, he stormed off to find the village chief. After much pleading and promising, the chief, a stern and serious man, agreed to see this so-called talking skull. A group of curious elders joined him, eager to witness the spectacle for themselves. Together, they followed the man deep into the forest, their faces filled with doubt. Finally, the man pointed triumphantly to the dry skull lying in the dirt. There it is, he declared. Now watch, it will speak. The man knelt beside the skull, clearing his throat. Tell them, he demanded. Tell them what you told me. The forest grew still. Birds stopped chirping, and the wind seemed to die down. All eyes were locked on the skull. But nothing happened. The skull lay silent, dry and lifeless as before. Speak, the man shouted again, his voice rising with desperation. Come on, say it. Still, silence. The villagers began to chuckle. Soft giggles turned into loud bursts of laughter. I knew it, one elder laughed. He's been lying all along. The village chief's face darkened with anger. Enough of your nonsense, he growled. You've wasted our time. If you spread any more lies, there will be consequences. Humiliated and furious, the man glared down at the skull. Stupid thing, he muttered. In a fit of frustration, he kicked the skull across the ground. And then, talking, brought me here. The whispery voice returned, low and chilling. The air turned cold, and the laughter stopped instantly. The villagers stared in shock, some stepping back in fear. The man's face drained of color. His knees trembled, and his heart pounded in his chest. He had proven himself right, but at what cost? The village chief's gaze turned icy. So, the skull wasn't lying, he muttered. Talking brought it here. He paused, then glared directly at the man. And now, your words may do the same. The man realized, far too late, that his big mouth. The air around them felt heavy, tense and cold. The villagers stood frozen, their eyes shifting between the skull and the man. The chief's face twisted in anger and suspicion. "This is dark magic," the chief growled. "Only evil spirits can speak through the dead." The man's heart pounded in his chest. His mind raced as he realized what the chief was thinking. "And no," the man stammered. "I swear I didn't do anything." The skull, it spoke on its own. His voice cracked with panic. "I'm telling the truth." But the chief had heard enough. In those times, anything strange, especially something as unnatural as a talking skull, was seen as a curse, a warning that dark forces were at play. "You brought this upon yourself," the chief said coldly. "Your lies, your boasting, it's no surprise something wicked followed you." The man's desperate pleas fell on deaf ears. The villagers, still shaken by what they had witnessed, believed the man had summoned evil spirits. Out of fear, and to protect their village, they punished him for his so-called trickery. Days later, a chilling sight awaited those who dared to enter the forest. The man's lifeless body lay sprawled beside the very skull he had discovered. His once boastful mouth now silent forever. His words, the very thing he had used to seek attention and admiration, had sealed his fate. And there, resting beside him, the dry skull seemed to grin wider than before, as if mocking him. "Talking brought me here." In the end, his big mouth, the thing he loved most, had led him to the same tragic end. This Nigerian folktale is more than just a chilling story. It's a powerful reminder that words have consequences. Words can build, or they can destroy. They can create friendships, or break them. And sometimes, what you say might just come back to haunt you. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more powerful African folktales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Ubuntu Folktale, because every tale has a lesson.